And good morning again. Well, we're getting more detail this morning on why the government has closed those 22 American diplomatic posts across the Mideast and North Africa, and why they are taking so seriously the threat of a possible al-Qaeda attack. The travel warning that the State Department issued last week for Americans traveling overseas, we're now told, will remain in effect for the rest of this month. For the latest this morning, we're going to our CBS News Homeland Security correspondent, Bob Orr, who's been on this for a long time. Bob, why are they taking this one so much more seriously than some of the things in the past?
Because this threat, Bob, comes from the group from al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula in Yemen that has been the most dedicated, the most active, and is charged from al-Qaeda leadership with being in charge of attacking Americans. This is a serious, credible threat, probably the most serious the government has seen since 2006. The problem here is while we know a great deal about what they're trying to do, we're missing some very important points. The date, the time, the scope of the attack, intelligence working overtime this weekend, trying to get some of those factors nailed down so that we can try to disrupt this plot.
But there's a lot of really scary stuff going on this morning, talking about surgically inserted bombs, for one thing. They seem to be talking about something they describe as big.
Yeah, I think the fear is that this may be a big play from a group that has been unable to muster a large-scale attack since 9/11. And they've got some expertise. You talk about the scary stuff. They have a bomb maker in Yemen named Ibrahim al-Asiri. He's the guy that built the underwear bombs and the printer cartridge bombs. He's a devious genius, and we know in the past he's experimented and researched trying to build body bombs, that is, implant explosives in human beings, which would give a whole new meaning to suicide bombers. Now, while we're not certain at all that that's part of this threat, the fact is he's part of the brain trust there in Yemen that's been working on plots, and it can't be discounted. I think what they're really worried about here is something on the scale of like a Mumbai-style ground-based attack that could use explosives and arms. But again, this is all very fuzzy because the partial information is based on intercepts that the government heard, major al-Qaeda figures talking to one another, and that's not real specific.
There have been a number of al-Qaeda escapees recently, especially from places like Libya. Do we think there's any connection between that and this?
Well, it's possible. There's a big prison break in Libya. There's a big prison break in Iraq. This is a lot of manpower for an organization that's been somewhat diminished. But there are some other markers too, Bob. This week, Ayman al-Zawahiri, the leader of al-Qaeda, had two messages. One came out early in the week saying it's time again to attack the Americans, and he wanted to free the prisoners at Guantanamo. And then he called for more unrest in Egypt. In the past, when the leader of al-Qaeda has come out with public messages, that has sometimes been a go signal for operators on the ground. Our colleague John Miller has been told that there are already operatives in place, and our government knows that much, but we don't know where, and we don't know what the target is.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Bob.